The first time I saw her, she was trapped in a cage at the back of a smuggler's ship. I wasn't supposed to be there, I was just a mechanic, fixing up the engines of a shady freighter that docked at the edge of the galaxy. But something about her caught my eye. She wasn't like the other aliens I'd seen. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, and her eyes glowed a soft, ethereal blue. She looked at me, not with fear, but with a quiet, piercing intelligence that made me feel like she could see straight through me. I asked the smuggler what he was planning to do with her. He just grinned, revealing a row of yellow teeth. "She's worth a fortune," he said. "Some rich collector out there will pay top credit for a living artifact like her." I didn't like it. I didn't like any of it. But I was just a mechanic. What could I do? That night, I couldn't sleep. Her eyes kept haunting me. I kept thinking about what it would be like to be caged, to be sold off like some exotic trinket. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I snuck back onto the ship. The smuggler was passed out drunk in the cockpit, and the security systems were laughably easy to bypass. I found her still in the cage, her silver skin dull under the dim light. She looked up as I approached, her glowing eyes narrowing slightly. "I'm getting you out of here," I whispered, fumbling with the lock. She didn't say anything. She just watched me, her expression unreadable. When the cage door finally clicked open, she stepped out gracefully, her movements fluid and almost otherworldly. She was taller than I'd realized, her presence commanding in a way that made me feel small. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft but resonant, like the hum of a distant star. I nodded, my throat dry. "There's a maintenance hatch at the back of the ship. It leads to the docking bay. You can slip out from there." She tilted her head, studying me. "Why are you doing this?" I shrugged. It just didn't seem right. For a moment, she was silent. Then she reached out and placed a hand on my shoulder. Her touch was warm, almost electric, and I felt a strange sensation ripple through me, like a wave of calm. "You are kind," she said. "Kindness is rare in this universe." And then she was gone, slipping away into the shadows like a wisp of smoke. I didn't expect to see her again. I went back to my life, fixing engines and trying to forget about the strange alien woman with the glowing eyes. But 3 months later, she found me. I was working on a busted thruster in the middle of a crowded spaceport when I felt a presence behind me. I turned, and there she was. Her silver skin shimmered in the sunlight, and her eyes glowed brighter than I remembered. She was wearing a flowing robe that seemed to shift colors as she moved, and she carried a small, ornate box in her hands. "You," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Me," she replied, a faint smile playing on her lips. "What are you doing here?" I asked, glancing around nervously. The spaceport was busy, but no one seemed to notice her. It was like she was invisible to everyone but me. "I came to thank you," she said, holding out the box. "For your kindness." I hesitated, then took the box. It was lighter than I expected, and the surface was covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as I looked at them. "What is it?" I asked. "A gift," she said simply. "Open it when the time is right." "When will that be?" "You'll know." And just like that, she was gone again, disappearing into the crowd as if she'd never been there. I carried the box with me everywhere, unsure of what to do with it. It felt alive, somehow, like it was humming with energy. I thought about opening it 100 times, but something always stopped me. It didn't feel right. Not yet. Then, one day, the time came. I was on a remote planet, fixing up a mining rig that had broken down in the middle of a dust storm. The crew was desperate. Without the rig, they'd lose everything. But the storm was getting worse, and the rig's core was on the verge of collapsing. If it went, the entire site would be destroyed. I was trying to stabilize the core when I heard it, a low, ominous rumble. The rig was going to blow. "Get out of here!" I shouted to the crew. "It's going to." But before I could finish, the box in my pocket began to glow. I pulled it out, my hands trembling, and the lid popped open on its own. Inside was a small, crystalline orb, pulsing with a soft, blue light. I didn't know what to do, so I just held it up. The orb floated out of the box, hovering in the air for a moment before shooting toward the rig's core. There was a blinding flash of light, and then, silence. The storm stopped. The rig stabilized. And the orb was gone. The crew stared at me in awe, but I didn't have any answers for them. All I could think about was her, the alien woman with the glowing eyes. She came to me one last time, months later. I was back on my home planet, sitting on the roof of my small house, staring up at the stars. "You used the gift," she said, appearing beside me as if she'd always been there. "I did," I said, not even surprised to see her anymore. "What was it?" "A piece of my world," she said. "A fragment of its essence. It can heal, protect, and restore balance." "Why did you give it to me?" She smiled, her eyes glimmering like twin moons. "Because you showed me that kindness still exists in this universe. And that is a rare and precious thing." I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, staring at her, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and awe. "Will I see you again?" I asked finally. She tilted her head, her expression softening. "Perhaps. But even if you don't, know this, your kindness changed the course of many lives. And that is a gift greater than any other." And then she was gone, leaving me alone under the stars, with nothing but the memory of her and the knowledge that, in a vast and often cruel universe, even the smallest act of kindness can ripple out and change everything.